we will publish the recording of the meeting and also the presentations, etc. And if there are anything that come up that people want to be added, let us know either via the chat or via email, and we'll try and find out and add those details. Skills for Care are here, and they've got a huge amount of information on their website. I see that John Butler is also here from Social Works. So if there's any questions about Workforce Development Fund or ASC, then I'm sure that there's someone between us that can either answer that or find the answers for you later. And do use Workforce Development Fund, because it's a valuable opportunity to get some contribution towards your training funding. As you might have picked up from the earlier conversation, there's an awful lot going on in social care at the moment, and a lot of it doesn't look terribly positive. You will have seen the BBC and the Guardian reviews of various care homes, etc., which is not good news. We always seem to see the bad news, but rarely the good news. CQC do tend to publicise bad news rather than good news. And you've got a couple of years really as organisations to get much more organised on your IT and software front. We are looking at putting an event together around that, which will actually have some demonstrations. You'll be able to see various bits of software in action. And obviously we'll let you know. We're just waiting on confirmation of the venue for that. It does seem actually ironic. I've had a couple of people contact me in the past few days that when a local authority or CQC ask you for information or data, you're given a few days, 7 days to respond. However, when you ask them for information or to comment, they will take many weeks if they bother to respond at all. Now, I'm not quite sure what the complaints process is. I've asked one of the local authority commissioners if they can update me. I'm led to believe there is a policy that they should respond within 28 days. And I'm actually trying to find that. And if we can locate it, then we will we'll circulate that. But it would be good to have a few examples of poor communication from local authorities, which we won't name any names, but it does make it a bit more effective when we talk to some of the commissioners. And talking of communication and what's been going backwards and forwards, many of you will have recently done a fair cost of care exercise through your local authority. The strange thing is that some providers have been asked to do two or more different ones. Some providers haven't been asked to do any at all. They should all have gone in by now. And we're told that there was a delay because of a system process at the DH. The report is due to come out in February of 23, but I suspect that may well be delayed. We are seeing some local authorities take note of what they have discovered in their fair cost of care exercises with their new tendering processes. But I think we're going to have to wait and see how the funding pans out into social care before there's much action. One or two local authorities have started to, for example, to use the London living wage on their tendering basis, which is good news, obviously. But I'm not convinced that they will have the funds to actually be able to afford that. So let's wait and see where it goes. We're putting quite a lot of stuff on the website. We're circulating stuff. Let us know if we're missing something. And I think Dudley's got a few points that he'd like to raise before we kick off with PurpleTribe.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. And it's been a busy week and a busy transitional period. We know that there's been a change at governmental level, and we know that some of the things that we were meant to be doing may be put on hold or things may have slowed down. But one thing that's constant is that with social care is that we still have to keep caring and maintaining our services as providers and as the workforce. Peter and I are both trying to do as much as we can, and Peter attends regular meetings, and I also do as well. I've also been out and about trying to find out what's happening in the sector as well, and seeing what things can be done. We know we're predominantly London based, but there is a lot going on, and a lot of things such as the ICSs, there's lots of funding, lots of different authorities doing various different things, be it anything to do with digitalization or to do with other elements around health and social care. And so we're trying to look at some good practices as well and join up things and events such as, and I've spoken with Laura, with Skills for Care, and obviously things like DWP. We know we're doing retention and recruitment today, of where we can actually put together events where we can actually have providers in the same room with those from the potential workforce happening. So it's something that we're looking to arrange where we physically can be present, where rather than using always interview techniques or hoping people to come and interview, we can actually try and bring people together. And also as well, we've got PurpleTribe today who will be who come in and assist us as well. So now that virtual meetings are still there, but actual physical meetings are happening, actually getting providers and potential candidates together is something that we want to hope to look forward to. And these are one of the various things that we can do. And we're also looking at putting other events together as well, of having funding together with providers, suppliers, all in one as well. So there's a lots that we potentially can do. But one thing that is also important is that to still share thoughts of what you want us to do and things that we can approach. There's also the WhatsApp group where you can send messages on as well and actually highlight things that are happening. Peter and I can only do so much, and there's lots going on. So it would be helpful if you can share it, because other people in the group will be able to go to it. I did a Black History Month for social care last night on YouTube. That was well received on a national level. So there's lots of things that are happening that are going on. So please do share, and Peter and I will update you as much as you can. I'll try and put messages in the chat box if you haven't registered with the WhatsApp group or with Peter already, and also with Skills for Care in the room as well, because they're doing a great job as well, and there's so much information. There's probably a lot more I could say, but let's get the show started, everyone. Thank you, Peter.
Okay, thanks, Dudley. Just talking of contacts, my apologies from the last Croydon meeting where we actually met at Croydon. A number of you gave me email addresses to add to the list, and unfortunately, I can't read some of them. So I've tried various types of email address, but some of them still don't work for me. So if you know someone that's complaining about me not contacting them, please let them know, and I will put the right email address or telephone number in. Many thanks. Okay, we're fortunate today to have the team from PurpleTribe, led by Scott Sherriden. It's a very interesting offer that they have, and it's functioning pretty well in social care. So I'll leave Scott to introduce what they do and his team. And please do, take note of this and fire away with questions, because there's an awful lot to learn, and they're very honest about what some of the problems are. And I have to say up front that some of the problems in social care are with the social care companies themselves, not altogether with the recruitees. So Scott, over to you, sir.
Hi, thank you for the introduction, Peter. Yeah, thanks, Dudley, for having us on today. And again, thank you everybody for sharing your time with us this morning. I know you're all very busy. I've got about 30 minutes to get through this. So this is the same presentation that I've delivered last week at the Care Show, and we were packed out. And I think what might be an eye opener for you guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on in recruitment. So I'll quickly share my screen if I may. Share that, and then I'll just go on slide view. Hopefully everybody can see this. If everybody could just confirm. Everybody see the front screen? can see the PurpleTribe logo. Yeah, everybody's nodding. Great. So yes, my name's Scott Sherriden. I'm the managing director and founder of PurpleTribe. We are what you would call a recruitment process outsourcing company, an RPO. We provide recruitment managed services, which basically means so we're not an agency, so we cannot provide you with a temp to perm or last minute cover to cover shifts. We predominantly work with two types of organisation. We work traditionally with home care agencies that are wanting to, they've got opportunity to take on lots of packages. The only real barrier to growth in their business and expansion is sourcing, hiring, and attracting candidates. The other clients that we have, for about 55% of our residential home care, nursing homes, LD mental health services, like fixed residential services, where their problem tends to be, my agency is going through the roof because I haven't got enough permanent staff. I'm asking core staff to cover shifts. They're getting burnt out, so I'm now incurring more and more costs. And obviously, as you all know, if you're residential care setting, the more agency you use, that will affect your CQC ratings. And some of the real world examples I'm going to share with you today will hopefully highlight why recruitment, should be for most people at the center of the wheel, being the organizations that you are. So without further ado, I'm going to get on with the presentation. So the presentation I delivered was how to build a sustainable workforce and increase your capacity. Now, what I wanted to focus on today very quickly is I've got a couple of goals for this session. I'm going to give you all a very quick, as Peter said, quite blunt reality check on what's happening with the workforce. I'm going to highlight some things that are really important, your blind spots, the things that we come across in over 90% of companies that we work with. These are the things that really are the big game changers in getting recruitment right. We'll talk about where you've reached to on your process with recruitment. I'll show you what can be achieved with the right people, process, and technology. I'll show you the sources we've been using to make recruitment and candidate attraction work, and then what sort of things you need to be implementing and doing on a regular basis to get the results that you need. And then the most important thing is just things that you can do. Now, I'm going to share with you what we do. That's great. I'm giving you free information. If you don't go and do it, then you'll not get something different. There's an old saying, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. So, there's no point me sharing our top tips if it just stays as a nice idea. So I'd love you to try it. And if you get stuck, our details you can get off LCAS website. So it's going to be rapid fire because of time. It is a big subject, so I'll go through this. But if anybody's got questions, please let me know. Things that are affecting your recruitment. Now, this is affecting everybody at the minute. So we've jumped from 3 million people claiming universal credit to 5.9 million people currently users. So it's literally doubled from 3 million to 6 million people claiming universal credit since 2020. So there's a lot more people wanting just 16 hours work, so not really needing full-time hours. We've now got a situation where we've got, well, actually, this figure I saw the other day, I should have changed it. We're now over this. We're at 1.31 million actual open vacancies. So we've basically got 1.29 million unemployed and out 1.35 million jobs. So we've actually got more jobs than we've actually got workers. We've got more jobs than we've actually got unemployed people at the moment. So even if we had zero, which would never happen, zero unemployment, we would still have more jobs available in the UK than we've actually got people to take them. And that's why people are scrambling for staff. There's 500,000 more jobs available to job seekers than pre-coronavirus. So this is why the stretch is, we would call this a candidate-driven market. Oops. So we've got first quarter of the year was a new record set, 50,000 jobs added. Sadly, the largest percentage of this, about 23%, was actually in our sector, health and social care. So the Office of National Statistics are saying that we've got 215,000 empty vacancies. And I believe it's even higher than that if you're taking some of the private companies that are not registered. So I think with home care, I think you'd probably be pushing 300,000 jobs that we've got short in the healthcare sector. We've had over 1.4 million people leave the UK, not coming back into the country, the unskilled worker situation. You've had static fees. We're going to be coming up to Christmas now where Amazon will be targeting via Google pay-per-click and AdWords will be targeting your jobs, especially in home care, where they'll be after drivers. They'll be offering 30% higher salary. And up to £1,500 bonuses to sign on. So that's what you're competing with as well. You had the situation way back when where it was the no jab, no job debacle, which seemed to be all a good idea for the government until the NHS dug their heels in, and then it was a complete U-turn. So that didn't help the situation much. Brexit is now really starting to bite because of a number of things, everything that the cost of living, and we are in this situation where you're all scrambling for stuff. So those are things you can't physically change about the environment, the workforce, and where we sit today when it comes down to capacity. The thing that's important is, for most organizations, and I'm going to give you 3 examples why I would say it's not all doom and gloom as you might think, is you just have to be better than what you are right now for a lot of organizations. The blind spots are your biggest problem, but they're also your biggest opportunity to actually really make a difference. So most organizations we see are not making recruitment their top priority. And what do I mean by that? They say, oh, we could expand our business, but we can't find enough staff. We want to get rid of this agency, but again, we can't find enough staff. But what we tend to find is that when you look at how people are managing their recruitment process is the same process that they've been using since day dot. It's slow. They're not speaking to every candidate. They're not chasing candidates up multiple times. They're not making themselves available for interview. They're slow to process DBS and reference checks. And I think that's not everybody's direct fault. It's partly because in pretty much 99% of organizations we speak to, they've got a recruitment manager or a person overseeing recruitment that has never actually been a recruiter and never actually worked in recruitment, doesn't really know what to do. And the problem that you've got is that because the landscape has changed now and how candidates seek jobs, the way that you need to write jobs, optimize jobs for Google SEO, it's a different game. So I think there's a lot of people are finding that used to have all their eggs in the Indeed basket and just used Indeed for candidates, and they could stick an advert for free and get hundreds of candidates. It's not like that anymore. So you have to change. But the way that they're prioritizing the recruitment, they're not prioritizing and making recruitment an unborn problem. And yet, if you're in a home care business, you may have seen your weekly hours dropping from 2,000 hours to 1,500 hours to 1,200. At what point do you hit crisis point? I was at a home care company, residential care group the other day. 81% of their costs are on staffing due to agency. So it's not a profitable business anymore. They've had one of their services downgraded to requires improvement, and now their insurance premiums have gone up, all at a time where gas and energy bills are shooting up. So instead of them paying, £1 million a year for gas and electric, it's now £2 million for gas and electric bills. So hemorrhaging costs for recruitment are things that really need to be addressed. And if you don't make it a priority, you're never going to get your results. A lot of organizations don't really know how much recruitment is costing them, like actually in terms of time, resources. So the organization I refer to that, so 9 care homes, £1.4 million spent on agency. I'm going to cover this a little bit later, but they didn't realize that how much time was being wasted. The 300 shifts were covered by agency staff in August, for example, and that means 300 timesheets needed to be processed by finance. Nearly 300 different people across the business needed to be inducted for an hour. So that's 300 hours in a month of senior carers and managers being taken away from care to induct new employees. So the total cost was nearly £500,000 in lost profit by using agency. So again, people don't track their recruitment metrics, so they don't know how many adverts are running, where they're running, what they cost per click, how many applicants get invited to interview, how long does it take to get people into interview. If you don't measure it, you can't improve it. And recording your recruitment metrics are a critical part to the way that you manage your recruitment process. As I've mentioned before, by not making it a priority, and not having specialist recruitment consultants, people that are driven by numbers, what we tend to see is with candidates coming in for an interview on a Friday, they just, we'll give them a ring back on Monday. It's too slow. Or even worse, they react and they just send out an email offer. They don't ring the candidate and make an offer. They don't ring up and say, hey, Peter, you've had a great interview. We'd love you to join us. The administrators just send out a contract. And then 5 days later, what's happened to Peter? Well, I sent him a job offer and sent him a contract, but he's not been in touch. He must not be bothered. And this blame culture it's too easy to blame the candidates and the quality of the candidates when really the process and the way that the companies are representing themselves as an employer, as a brand, as a place to work, are way behind the curve of other organizations and other businesses. So this slow reactive, rather than taking a proactive approach, sending out references, not chasing 2 or 3 times a day to find out whether the references they're going to get back. If you're not doing this, it's too slow, and it will. If you're not doing these things, you're not going to get the results you want. I've alluded to people are not having in-house recruitment. That's not a shameless plug for us. When I show you some of the numbers, why wouldn't you have an expert recruiter managing one of your most important features of your business, which is your talent attraction? So making sure you've got the right people, because you need to make this work. You need to have the right people, the right process, and the right technology stack, all working in harmony if you want to address your recruitment problems. As I briefly mentioned before, limiting your candidate sourcing channels to Indeed. There are other things out there, different ways to work that you can do. It's not all about Indeed, albeit Indeed is a really good tool if you know what you're doing with it. And a lot of people have no idea what they're doing with Indeed. So again, the last point that we talked about was having a reactive, not a proactive approach to recruitment, which ties all this thing in. And everything you need to do links into how you manage a structured process of recruitment. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that now. So what is it really costing you with recruitment failures? So as I've mentioned before, if you're in a home care environment, your problems may be, I can't fill my permanent positions. That means I then can't take on extra care packages and extra hours. Those lost hours, and because you're not maybe recruiting enough permanent staff, so you might be like 1 in, 2 out, might mean that your hours are going backwards. That also means by default, your hours are going backwards. Impact to your CQC audit and how that you get viewed. Obviously, the more you stretch your staff, that leads to burnout. And again, the problem for home care companies, agency staff or bringing agency staff in isn't an option because there's not the margin or the profit in it to do that. So the only option is to give away like your actual packages. That obviously doesn't hurt your reputation. And again, for some business owners, a lot of business owners will have a view that maybe they build a business up and then in years to come, they'll sell that business, and that may be their nest egg or their retirement, whether it's a franchise or a privately owned business. But at the end of the day, if you've worked hard for X amount of years, 10, 15 years, and you want to sell your business after what you put into it, your heart and soul into it, you should be getting the profits that you deserve. So the problems that sit around that are not just around the quality of care that we are here to provide, but people set up businesses for a reason, and I don't think people should be ashamed to accept that it is it's maybe not a lifestyle business. Yes, you want to deliver care, but you are trying to run a profitable company at the end of the day. If you flip to the right hand side and look at residential care nursing problems, they're very similar. Can't fill the permanent vacancies. The issue then is not extra packages, but they may not be able to grow and take on extra services or have empty beds. But the more agency use you bring in, the higher the cost. Again, that impacts the continuity and quality of care that you're able to deliver. As I've mentioned before, affects your CQC audit, could be downgraded, which increase your costs again. Same impact to your staff morale and burnout. Again, can't fill your beds, lost revenue. And again, lost profit, lost EBITDA. So there's very similar problems, but they all stem from the same areas, trying to source, attract and hire quality staff. So here's a quick example of home care working. On the left-hand column, we've got some assumptions here. This is what we're talking about knowing what it's cost you. So let's assume you're a home care business and you want to grow by a net gain of just 3 support workers per month. So you might have to hire 5 because you on average lose 2 people a month. So we need to net gain of 3. You've then got 90 hours per additional care worker is the assumption, and your gross profit is £600 per carer per month of gross profit. And we're going to look at this over a 12-month period. So if you grow the center column, your results for year one, if you grow by a net gain of 3 workers per month, just 3, that would give you an additional hours per month of 3,240 hours a month, which is 21,600 hours a year. You're going to be looking at an increased gross profit of £140,000 in year one. In year two, though, you maintain that momentum and just continue to grow by a +3 account. So you'd have 72 extra staff by the end of year two. You'd have started year one with 140, with an extra £21,000 in gross profit a month. But if you look at the bottom figure, by the end of year two, you'd have increased your gross profit in year two by 390,000. So that's 530 odd thousand pounds profit you make just by growing by an extra 3 members of staff per month. And the crazy thing about this, we see organizations don't understand how to drive the gross profit and what that means, but yet don't want to invest in any recruitment, advertising or marketing. And the question mark is even if it would have cost you 80,000, even if it would have cost you, which would be a hell of a lot of money for a small agency, but even if it had cost you £80,000 a year for everything, you know, if you looked at the business you would have got in, instead of, you would have had 530,000, you would have spent 160,000. You actually would have still made £370,000 gross profit, even if you'd have spent £80,000 a year delivering that service. So you need to understand what your recruitment is worth to you to work out how you can invest in it. But for most companies, it's a no-brainer. If you come into a residential care setting, these are actually figures for a client we've just taken on board. This is a residential care, nursing care business. If your agency costs will typically work out at between 25 and 30% of your margin. So these guys were spending £1.4 million on agency. And that means that on a basic 25% to 30% split, around about £420,000 of that is pure net, not gross profit, is pure net profit off their bottom line margin. What the figure doesn't include, the 420,000 doesn't include, is the cost and time to manage all the invoices, the timesheets, the induction time for new starters. They did have one service requires improvement. You know, their insurance premiums have gone up. The managers all stated lower staff morale, which was contributing to staff turnover. So £420,000 of lost profits is just the tip of the iceberg. We're probably pushing more into the 550, maybe more into lost profits. And it's all driven by, you know, not getting the recruitment right, which is forcing agency. So what do you need to do to get round some of these problems and issues, and what do you need to do to get the results you need? So as I mentioned before, first thing you need to calculate is what is a care worker worth to you and your business. So if you're in a home care, you need to calculate how much do our staff make me in revenue, or how much do I save if we were to sort of solve this problem. So one of our clients, a home care business down just outside of London, we know that they make it works out about 511% return on investment on recruiting the right care workers into their care business. And we do that with the blended approach. We have international workers as part of that recruitment mix, but on the actual recruiting locally from local and people based in the UK, it's a 511% return on investment. So we know how much the effort needs to be put into that. Again, if your agency, if you don't know how much agency you're using, is it all nights? Is it all days? Is it a blend? Is it going on nurses? Where is the cost and where does that need to come from? And again, that's something we work with the client with to help them understand the true cost of it so that they know what could be the right approach to take. We then look at how are you extending your candidate reach. So in our model, as I'll show you in a minute, I'll show you the different sources and options that we use to attract candidates. So it's not just all about Indeed. We've just, but as an example, we've just gone live with a new client today, which is all well, we posted the jobs yesterday. We've had 226 applicants since going live at 1 p.m. yesterday to this morning, and that's with international candidates taken out, and that's a blend of Indeed, but Indeed that's optimized, got SEO, Google ranking, as well as job board applicants as well, such as Read Total Jobs CV Library. The other part is you need to be really tenacious. This is where privately owned smaller businesses struggle. So we've posted our jobs yesterday at 1 o'clock. Our recruiters will be ringing the candidates today, tomorrow, the next day. We'll be ringing candidates 3 or 4 times. They'll be getting automated text messages and WhatsApps and emails, and that's before we give up. You know, we drive real hard to get candidates in. You need to be available. Again, we see too many people not making themselves available for interview. You know, we want to hire 10 staff, but we can only give you every Thursday as interview availability. So there is a situation where you've got to, if you can make evenings and weekends free, but again, every 24 hours that you lose with candidates, we estimate that your chance of hiring that person drops by about 28%. Let's see. Now, process, again, we've talked about this, making sure every step of your process is in point. Now, when I talk about process, this starts at a very well-written, optimized job advert, because that's what people see, respond to. Make sure it's values-based. It's not all about what year you were created. It talks about what makes a person that might be interested in a job where you want to start working and engage with you in a conversation. So there's the advert, there's the speed in which you contact people, there is the quality of the telephone screening call, how long it takes for you to get them in with an interview. So when we're speaking to a candidate today, we've already got our clients' interview availability. So our candidates will be speaking to people today with the view that they'll be getting them in for either telephone interviews tomorrow or within 48 hours at the very latest. And that's the best way that you can manage it. But again, it's not just the part of that. You're making sure your interview process is on point. How you structure that. Is your interview room ready? Is it? Have you read the CV? Have you got your notes? Do you know a structure? Are you going to show them around? And then again, how you execute the offer part to it and onboarding, such as how quickly you process the DBS, the references, and keeping the candidate up to date at all times so they know exactly where you are in the process. So you keep them engaged in that. So everything's got to be on point. And that leads into this point itself about saying candidate experience. So you've got to focus on what the candidate needs, not what you want. Right now, as I've said before, it's all about a candidate-driven market and ensuring that you focus on the candidate. So the job advert needs to focus on what they want. And when you get in, you need to be asking questions. And I don't really normally cover this point, but it's such an important one. But when it comes down to your interview, I'm amazed at how many people, how many organizations have got really outdated and unfit for purpose interview questions. So the company I was talking about a minute ago, £1.4 million in agency use. The first question is, what do you know about my company? Second question is, what do I know about my culture? And the thing is, it's completely irrelevant. Is completely irrelevant for this process. It's not candidates. It's not how people work in this day and age. Is most people as well that have stuff on their website, what they tell us about themselves. You know, there's a lot of organisations that everybody says the same thing. Nobody stands out. We've got to do something different. Your job right now is to actually focus on the candidate and engage with them. Make it a conversation. You know, there's no point having, as the previous client I mentioned has, a question number 4 is, what do you know about safeguarding? The candidate sat in front of you who's never worked in care. So they don't know anything about safeguarding. So 3 of the first 4 questions are not fit for purpose. And if you're using it for some sort of CQC scoring record, well, somebody that could be a fantastic candidate that's warm-hearted, has got compassion, empathy, great stickability, would be great for the job, has just scored 0 on 3 of the first 4 questions. So having questions that actually engage people and are fit for purpose and actually serve you a purpose, not just CQC. So it's, again, focus on that candidate experience. I've also talked about recruitment metrics. So if you don't know how many interviews you're booking, how many offers you're making, how many offers get accepted versus rejected, how many people start training, how many people get on rota and start with clients. If you're not measuring your metrics and you're not getting the real-time data, then you can't make informed decisions about what to do and what to fix. So it's really important you capture up the data side of it. So when we look at what's been working for us, I've just given you some of the things that we focus on as a managed service provider, and that's the things that we deliver for our clients, but it's nothing that you can't deliver for yourself. What's been working for us is kind of all of it. Now, you might say, well, what does that really mean? So the big one is here, you see the big G, the G for Google Jobs. Google Jobs is definitely a game changer. Google Jobs now is, if you were to type into any job search, if you type in healthcare assistant jobs leads, you will see Google sponsored adverts, pay-per-click adverts at the top. And that's typically somebody like Total Jobs or CV Library, or maybe some of the big players like Priory Group or HC1, somebody like that, or NHS. But what you'll see straight under that is Google Jobs. And the interesting thing is Google Jobs is not indexing any other vacancies. And it's not indexing any Indeed vacancies, should I say. So what happens now is you can say support worker jobs in Romford in Essex, and you click onto that, you'll see, 100 vacancies, view 100 or more vacancies in Google Jobs. You go into Google Jobs, none of the jobs in there are on Indeed, which means if you are only advertising on Indeed, your jobs are not making it into Google Jobs. And the only way Google Jobs finds you is if you have all your jobs indexed, SEO'd up, and have got it configured the right way around. It will find it potentially from Total Jobs or if CV Library, but most smaller providers don't have the facility to use those job boards as we would do. So therefore, you're not going to be getting on Google Jobs. Indeed still is a great, powerful tool to use if you know how to use it right. Facebook and Instagram are great. LinkedIn is great for senior hires. But really, at the minute, we're finding that about anywhere between sort of 38 to 55% of applicants are Indeed versus 60 odd percent to maybe 55% reverse on non-Indeed candidate sources. So there isn't one dominating force right now at the moment. It's just knowing how to spread your advertising. We talked about Workforce Recruitment and Retention Fund. Briefly, we've had some great success, and we talked about all these critical conditions. With Kent County Council, we were engaged in a Workforce Recruitment and Retention Fund project where their problem was they couldn't find any PAs or personal assistants. And we managed to generate and source and build a pipeline of 220 PAs in just 12 weeks from a standing start. That was used by Kent County Council, Medway, and the NHS. The Havering Care Association project, which has been a great success, that's been running in partnership with Mike Armstrong and John Timms at Havering Care Association, and the Proud to Care project that's going off down there. Worked very closely with the Havering Council as well. Ben, who's the commissioning manager. We acted as a central recruitment hub for the entire London Borough of Havering. So we had home care, LD mental health, residential nursing care providers. We had needs of all businesses, I think about 50 in total. And we filled about 100 people new into care in the London Borough of Havering in just 12 weeks as a pilot project. We're now speaking to Surrey, looking to expand that out into the winter project. So there's some interesting things where it was just proving that it can be done if you've got the right people, process and technology. Very quickly, CuraCare, one of our clients, in-house recruitment versus external. Very quickly just shows you what can be done with a different approach. We virtually doubled. Now, the interesting, the column is this, their results are in 12 months. So we increased their candidate attraction by 90%. So jumping from 1,000 applicants to nearly 2,000. We had an 89% increase in booking candidates, going up from 129 interviews booked to 245. The attendance was far higher than they got in-house. up 98% from 68 to 135. Reduction on Indeed spend by 78%. 52% increase in candidates sourced from non-Indeed places. So again, candidates that they weren't normally finding. And again, touching on the growth, their business had grown by +3 staff in just 12 months. We increased headcount by 30% in just 6. So it shows you what can be done. And we were only advertising in still the same 3 places. This is not shipping people in from other parts of the company. It's just working smarter, not harder. So again, as we talked about before, the 3 top tips to get through this. Peter will be delighted that I finished on time as well. Number 1, I would say widen your talent funnel. There are other sources out there. There are lots of things that you can do. It's not just all about Indeed. There are job boards, there are other ways, Google Jobs, etc. There are Facebook, Instagram campaigns and digital campaigns that you can look at. You need to adopt a candidate-centric approach. Make it all about the candidates. Why should they work for you? You know, very quickly, we've just hired a guy recently. He applied on a Sunday, rang him on the Monday, rang him on the Tuesday, finally got a conversation with him Wednesday, so we didn't give up, got him on the Wednesday, asked him when he could come in for an interview. We couldn't get him in till Friday. Turns out when I asked him, had he been for any jobs or interviews, he got 3 offers and was waiting for 2 offers. So we was basically 6th in line. So it shows you why you need to focus on selling your job, selling your opportunity, make it candidate centric. You know, they've got the pick of the jobs. You've got to convince them why they need to work for you. And finally, measure what you're doing, collect your data, and if it's not working, don't be afraid to tweak it. Remember, if you can't improve what you don't measure. So I know that's rapid fire. It's a lot to get through. If anyone speaks to us, you know, my name's Scott Sherriden. I'm the managing director and founder of PurpleTribe. Please go and give it a go. We'd love to help you if you're stuck, but by all means, you know, reach out to us. You can sign up for our PT Tips. There's a bit of a pun in that. PT Tips weekly newsletter. There's some really interesting stuff you could get from our site, like ebooks, downloads, etc., or just contact us through LCAS. So thanks ever so much. I hope that's been helpful.
Thank you, Scott. That's a whistle-stop tour. You couldn't possibly have got much more into there. I think there is one line in there which applies to most parts of any organisation, be they social care or not, be they for-profit or not, and that is, if you don't measure it, you can't improve it. And that actually knocks on to quite a lot of what we'll have coming through in the next couple of meetings. I see there are a few points in the chat. Do you want to pick those up and run through them, please?
Yeah, I mean, there are some questions that are in the chat box. If anyone wants to ask Scott any direct questions as well, now's a great time to have him. He spoke at the National Care Show. This is a lot of information. I think I'm not sure if everyone brought their business hat on, but there's a masterclass in business for health and social care there, and we've got figures to look at and how to turn things around. So there was a question in the chat box, I believe, by Alison, and she's mentioned she was under the impression that Google jobs were expensive. So can you explain, I guess, the other side of things, the expense and the cost of doing this as well, Scott?
Yeah, and it is. So I think the thing that people probably might forget. So probably the best way to probably illustrate this, Dudley, if it's beneficial, I'm going to just quickly show this what I mean. Because so if you're in Google Jobs and you can see my screen, and I type in support worker jobs, Gateshead. So I've done this a million times. So you've got Florence, who's an agency at the top, and as I guessed, total jobs coming in at the top, yeah? And then straight away under here, you've got Google Jobs. Now, what happens is when you come in here, what you'll see is that you get all the vacancies on the left-hand side. And this is, so Google Jobs is actually, I'm not sure whether, Google Jobs is free. It doesn't cost you a penny. The problem that people have with Google Jobs is what most people don't realize, and this is nobody's fault because you're not recruitment experts. We wouldn't expect you to know this. Google Jobs is going to do to the market what Indeed has done to the job boards. So before Indeed, the only way you kind of used to use recruitment advertising was job boards. As recruiters, we just had job boards: Reed, Total Jobs, Monster, CV Library. There's lots of different ones out there. And the way that they work is where they work on a pay-per-post model. So what you do is you buy a posting credit, you write your advert, you stick it out there, and you cannot influence how many people apply to that job. What Indeed did is Indeed became the first, what they call a career site, but really what it was doing is it's what you call scrapes the jobs. So it pinches them from other job boards and put them on its site. That's exactly, and then when it started building up traction, so what you could do is you could basically go to Indeed, you'd have the same job on there 10 times, because you might have 6 different recruitment agencies working on the same job, all using Indeed, all using job boards. You got a lot of the same stuff. And as they built up traffic, ultimately everybody went there. And then Indeed kind of went, oh, why don't you advertise it with us for free? And then very cleverly, they moved all the traffic towards their jobs and basically gave it away for free. And that's what basically Google Jobs is doing. But the difference is, now there's an anomaly here, because this is one that slipped through the net. I've probably seen this less than a handful of times where one job somehow gets through. What you'll typically see here is this, where you've got Adzuna, and you've got all these scraping job boards. And what happens with candidates is, because they haven't applied for these places, the candidate tries to apply for a job. And really what you end up in is this section where you start jumping from job site to job site. And now we want to see the details of the job. It's not easy to apply, so we want to see the details. It's now asking us to sign in and create an account. And this is where it's starting to really mess things up for providers, because candidates are going into jobs and they can't apply for it. So the way that Indeed Jobs works, Google Jobs works, is that you need to have your jobs on either a Google SEO optimized career page, or you need to have it on on actual paid or free job boards that are actually connected up to it. So you're not actually paying for Google Jobs. It works on what you call a schema. So it's not actually expensive. The trick is actually getting it onto Google Jobs and ranking it in Google Jobs. So you don't physically have to pay a penny for Google Jobs at all.
Well, thanks for that. I'm not sure if people need a bit more confused, but I think it's just that in essence, it can be free. What you're saying, Scott, as opposed to
you're not physically paying for you. So unlike, say, when people what you'll notice with Google Jobs is you cannot find an example. What you cannot do. So this will be a better example for you. Hopefully this will explain it better. So I'll give you an example of one of our clients. So this is one of our clients, right? So this is our job: care assistant, support worker, nights. So these are LD supported living service. Now, what we've done is, because they're our customer, we've created for them like a micro site, a career micro site, which is embedded into our web technology, so that when we advertise their jobs, we put it's on Indeed, it's on Reed, Total Jobs, CV Library, etc. But it's also on Google Jobs now, and it's on Google Jobs this way because we can apply direct. So if you click on the apply direct button, you're not being bounced around to different sites. You're coming straight to their job. Okay, it said £10 an hour, permanent, 33-hour night shift role. Everything's here what you need to know, and you can apply direct. And all the applicants that come through that channel are free of charge, because we've connected up the career page and optimized it so that it takes it. So that process that I've shown you, if you were applying for our job, for our client's job, using that, then those candidate applications are free. They don't cost you a penny. These ones here are the ones that you have to watch, because we have to contact these companies regularly to tell them to stop scraping our jobs. So I'll be completely honest with you, we haven't advertised our job on either of these 2 free job boards. They're being scraped, and that's the problem. That Google, that's what Google Jobs is, not the finished article. So we haven't advertised. We would never advertise our job on here. You know, why would you? Look at the state of it. You know, so but the important thing, by setting it up properly, you can have the apply direct button on as the first option. So that, as I said, that takes you straight back to the actual job advert, which is on our site, and they apply direct. The other option is this thing where they're scraping it. And that's why you've got so many of these companies, like whoever this company is here, whoever Stary Care are, they supply BB and Malgat. They have not, I would put my mortgage on the fact that they have not advertised on these job boards, because BB is another scraper. If you click on that button for BB, look how confusing this is for candidates. This is all irrelevant data. You know, that's not exactly like it says Tyne and Weir, but I don't think that's the Tyne and Weir landscape, to be honest. But if this is the job you're going to go for, you try and apply on it. Now it's asking you to sign up, give all your details. And if we skip, it's now going to redirect us to Jubal. Now we're at a different job. And if we want to find it, we've now got to go through. This is why candidates give up. So Google Jobs is helping to semi-train wreck the care sector's recruitment as well, because it's people don't know how to get that. Stary Care company in Gateshead will probably more than likely not know that this is what's happening to the people that are applying to their jobs. I wanted to apply for that job, but I simply can't because of all these ridiculous steps I've got to go through to try and get to it. Every time I apply, I'm being asked to sign up for something different. Now I've gone from Melga Jobs to back to Jubal again and sign up to this. So and I get it's confusing for people, but it then becomes confusing for candidates, because as you've seen there, you know, you've got one version where, as you've seen, you click on our what you would call apply direct, and it took you straight to the advert. No messing, just bang, it's nice and clean. The other alternatives are, it's doing what this Google Jobs is doing, and it's making a mess of people's recruitment. So it's one of these things. You're getting into. This is why recruitment's getting harder for care providers. It's not only is it difficult to manage recruitment and be effective with your processes and procedures, but you've now got the added complication of you need to actually understand digital marketing, SEO, and Google Analytics and stuff like that, because you kind of need to now fuse both elements into one solution, where people don't have time. People don't have the time at the best of time to do their recruitment. You know, so just giving them buying an applicant tracking system is pointless. You know, you've got to have it all knitted together. So I've tried to explain it, but it's not. It doesn't cost a penny for the physical jobs, but yes, it costs a bit of time and labor to get the whole thing set up and going. I would say final point on Google is not the silver bullet though today, because you don't know how serious Google are going to make Google Jobs. Are they going to make it a priority? You know, they're massive. Indeed have done everything they can to sort of capture the market. But what is interesting, when you do that Google search, when you say healthcare assistant jobs Gateshead or Romford, what is quite frighteningly powerful by Google, you can type in anything. You can type in window cleaner job, teaching assistant. You could put car park attendant jobs in Brighton. It'll be Google adverts, and then Google Jobs will come #1 for like everything. And the thing is, you're not going to overrank Google on Google. They've got their own paid adverts at the top. They've got their own job board second. Indeed will always come in as the #1 organic ranked thing. But people like instant gratification. They want to go somewhere, click, apply for jobs. I've applied for 20 jobs, bang, I'm off, I've done. I don't need to go in Indeed or read it. And over time, it'll get harder for Indeed to attract the candidates, I think, is what I personally think will happen.
Thank you so much for that, Scott. I think it's not just been a masterclass, it's understanding where candidates can be found. I think that we all want quality candidates that are there. And also, you also mentioned about the soft skills, which are lost when interviewing candidates as well, which is very important.
Yeah.
So I think there's so much to take on board, and your details, we will leave your details there, Scott, for people to get in contact. And someone in the group has said it's been interesting. They're getting more direct contact from candidates stating that they saw our role in Google. So there's evidence already there that it does happen. I also do think as well, Scott mentioned about the quality of your own websites, how you portray yourself standing out, all these things you can look at, because you are businesses as well. Even though our main common theme is caring for individuals, but also as well, we have to make ourselves be present and visible, and as best as we can. So thank you so much for that, Scott. And we will be having this recording and slides being made available. So thank you very much. Peter, I'm not sure if you want to add anything to that.
I think a couple of points. I mean, one of the points Scott made about, what do you know about our company? If you actually search some of the social care providers that are looking for jobs, their websites are absolutely terrible. So if you looked at the website, you probably wouldn't want to work for the company anyway. The standard things are very poor pictures that you've seen on another dozen websites, difficult to contact them, no link to CQC, which is pretty much obligatory. Well, I think it actually is obligatory. And some very strange phrases about how they operate. And so it doesn't make the job clear. It doesn't make the prospect clear. And that puts people off. And even the job adverts that we see being sent around, they're very poor, many of them. They just don't appeal to the sort of people that are going to be applying for them. So again, thanks, Scott. Brilliant presentation. Huge amount of information in there, as ever. Good process, works well, proven. And there are options, and if there are no more questions, we'll roll on to Laura Anthony from Skills for Care, who will bring on some great helpful tips from Skills for Care and their websites about further recruitment. Laura.
Morning, everyone. Have you got my slides, Peter? I can bring them up from here if not.
I have. Sorry, just cock that up.
Before I start, I just wanted to introduce my colleague Mike Bailey, who has introduced himself in the chat already. I know most of you here today are from West London, but if anybody is here from North Central London, Mike is your new locality manager, and I'm sure you'll be in touch at sort of meetings in the next few months or so.
Nice to meet you all.
Okay, can you see those?
I can. So I'm just going to talk through some of the support you can access from Skills for Care around recruitment and retention. So firstly, we know that more employers are starting to look at recruiting from abroad, as it is so challenging to recruit workers locally for all the reasons that Scott spoke about earlier. But we're also hearing from managers that they're having trouble navigating the legalities of recruiting internationally. It is quite complex, quite bureaucratic. So what we've done at Skills for Care is create a web page all about international recruitment. And on here, you'll find a range of resources. So there's some guidance on gathering and assessing criminal record information for non-UK nationals. There's some useful Home Office guidance on recruiting from abroad. There's some helpful case studies as well about how other employers across the country have successfully recruited overseas staff. And I think something that's really crucial is a guide on providing resettlement support and that pastoral care that overseas recruits. So once you get the slides, just click on the link, you'll be taken straight to the page. Next slide, please, Peter. So we also at Skills for Care do a lot to support employers with values-based recruitment and retention. Do people know what I mean by that?
You can explain it very quickly, Laura, but
I'll explain it quickly.
Yeah.
So it's an approach to attracting and selecting staff which puts a lot more emphasis on finding out about someone's values and behaviours and assessing whether these align with the values and behaviours and culture of your organisation, rather than focusing on their qualifications and experience. So if people don't have previous care experience, they can learn on the job or complete training courses. But we all know it's a lot more difficult to actually change someone's mindset. And as Scott said earlier as well, you can't keep doing things the same way and expect different results. So this is a slightly different approach to recruitment, which we know through our research is actually really successful. You can attract more suitable candidates, and you'll also end up with lower turnover rates as well, because if you're taking on people with the right values and the right attitudes who are a good fit for your organisation, they're a lot more likely to actually stay with you. So we run a series of different workshops that can help you get started with values-based recruitment. So that's from identifying and communicating your workplace values, through to embedding them in your job adverts, in your job descriptions, and in your interview questions. And again, Scott spoke about inappropriate questions, very generic job adverts. And attending these webinars will just help you give a bit of a steer about how to make your adverts more attractive to the right people, and how you can actually start using interview questions that can really draw helpful information from people and just get a good sense of what type of person they are and whether they're suited to work in the care sector. So again, just click on the link and you'll be taken to more information. I think we're planning to run another kind of cohort of workshops in early 2023. Next slide. Some other resources that may be of interest: the Care Friends app, which you may have already heard of. This supports you to set up and also manage a refer a friend scheme, which we know through our research again is the most successful way of recruiting new staff. And we also know that staff recruited through refer a friend schemes tend to stay longer than those people recruited via other methods. Widening your talent pool, we've got guidance on recruiting people who may be underrepresented in your workforce currently. So that could be people with a disability, for example. There's some information on how you can remove any unnecessary barriers that could unintentionally prevent the employment of somebody with a disability or perhaps a long-term illness. And there's also a guide on there about employing people with criminal records in the care sector. Question of care, this is a pre-screening tool that you can use to assess whether someone has the right values to work in care. I know some employers ask people to complete it before coming for interview. We've also got some guidance on application forms, just to help you get as much useful information from candidates as possible, to help you decide whether you want to progress them to the interview stage. More and more employers are using social media to recruit. And we've got some case studies about how organisations are using Instagram, TikTok, and just what they're doing to kind of really stand out from the crowds. And some employers we know are having lots of success using those methods. And it's not just about recruitment, we have a lot of retention as well. So how to create a positive place to work, which will make people want to stay with you. And also on creating supportive induction. We know lots of people leave in the first few months, and actually putting that really good induction in place, people are really clear about their role within the organisation, can actually help keep them. So if you want to find out more about recruiting people with a disability, then we're running a webinar on the 1st of November that you may be interested in. And this is all about becoming a disability confident employer. So around 20% of working age people in the UK have a disability or a health condition. So potentially a lot of people who may want to work in the sector if they were actually given the opportunity. So yeah, free webinar, 1st of November. And the final thing I was going to say is that some of you may have noticed that over the past, I think 3 or 4 years now, the government has been running a national recruitment campaign for adult social care. And there's been adverts on TV, on radio, you'll have seen them at bus stops, online. And they're planning to launch the 5th phase of the campaign, which is called Made with Care, later this year. And again, I think it's going to be radio, TV, digital adverts, adverts and billboards. And there's also going to be a big focus on signposting people who are interested in working in care to local jobs. It's not just going to be a case of this is what working in care is like, go and have a look for vacancies yourselves. People are going to be signposted to a website, probably the DWP's Find a Job website. They can actually search for vacancies close to them. So once the campaign is launched, it may be worth actually listing your vacancies on the website. And I can talk more about that once the campaign is launched. There's going to be increased traffic to the site as a result of the campaign, and it's free to post your vacancies on there as well. So definitely worth doing. And there's also going to be a toolkit accompanying the campaign, which just has some kind of useful guidance and resources about improving your recruitment processes and making yourself more attractive to potential candidates. Okay, that's everything for me, Peter. I think the last slide is my contact details and the link if anybody wants to register with Skills for Care and sign up to our fortnightly e-news, which includes information about events like the webinar I spoke about.
Thank you very much, Laura. I'm not sure if anyone, most people know Skills for Care provide a lot of support for those nationally across health and social care. They do various webinars, events, there's funding there to help with training. It's a signpost and something that we should look on. We also support by Skills for Care as well, running these meetings, which they run nationally across different patches and different areas throughout the country. So there is probably going to be a locality manager like Laura in different places helping to support those in health and social care. And it's not just one part of it, it's all across all specialities as well. So please do, if you can, get in touch or look on their website, and you can also contact ourselves or the likes of Laura as well. So helpful across the board. And Peter, if you want to.
Any questions for Laura whilst we're here? Okay, I mean,
I have Peter, sorry, may I?
Please do.
Okay, hi. So I manage a nursing home, and I have a lot of students that join the team because of well, we advertise a lot of, well, we advertise job center and stuff, and we haven't got much people with experience coming through the door. So we have few students who joined, and then obviously they have given a sponsor and they are full-time workers. But I'm trying to get some like NVQs and trainings for them. But they need to be in the country over 3 years to do an NVQ. So how do I go about getting training for these staff now they are on permanent basis, so that they understand, you know, the care sector better?
We've got something called Workforce Development Fund at Skills for Care, which can fund people to do training. It doesn't matter how long they've been in the country. There's no criteria around that. If you want to send me your email address in the chat, I can contact you afterwards and give you a bit more information about that.
Okay.
That might be
right.
for them.
Do you want me to send it in this group? Or
if you want to send it to me directly via chat, and
okay,
with you.
I shall do that.
And Laura, it would be great if once the information is shared with Martini, if you could also let us know, because I think there's lots of now overseas recruitment and staff coming into various roles. And I think training is the next part, which we all want. I believe Fumni's got a question she wants to ask.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm so happy that question was asked, because that's the same problem I am experiencing with students as well, not being able to get training sorted out for them because they've not been in the country more than 3 years or up to 3 years. So now, am I allowed to send my email as well so that all those information can be sent to me from Laura?
Please do. It looks as if a number of people are looking for the information. So Laura, if we can circulate that widely, please.
I mean, we did a session last month about the Workforce Development Fund, which I wasn't going to go into too much detail today, as I think lots of people may be aware of it already. But those of you, yeah, just drop your email in the chat and I'll get back to you later today to give you more detail. But definitely worth looking into.
Okay.
Thanks. That.
Thank you for that. Thanks so much.
Going back to WDF funding, we did a session with him. We had the likes of John Buttle here, who's one of the trainers who's on the approved list with Skills for Care, where we looked at training and funding for it, and so how to go on it and access it. So that's important as well. So to access it, it's a process, but it benefits your environment as well. So thank you for that. So
yeah, I needed to ask. I did already ask the question, so she's sending me information.
No problem. So we will be. Peter's probably got the recording of that session as well, which he can also send out to everyone as well.
Oh, thank you. That would be helpful.
The recording is probably on the website. If you can't find it, just drop me an email and I'll point it out to you.
Okay.
If you're struggling with foreign recruits, you may recall that we had Fragamen do a couple of presentations, excuse me, and they're still able to help people. So again, if you can't find the information or you've lost it, let me know, we'll repost that. And if you're struggling with DBS checks, then use someone like UCheck because they're very swift. Again, we've circulated information for UCheck, but if you can't find it, then let me know. We'll repost it anyway. We do circulate it regularly, but we can do that. John, as training has come up a couple of times, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, fine. I mean, I should make the proviso other trainers are available. But yeah, I mean, we're a social care specialist training company, so we only work in social care. We don't, you won't find somebody tutoring your staff and then going off to do hairdressing somewhere else. We do an awful lot through the Workforce Development Fund. In fact, most of what we do. One of the things that you might be interested in, I know there are some people here that already work with us on this, is every Thursday we have a session that starts for new staff, and that goes through a level 2 RQF in medication in social care, and goes through, so it goes on the Thursday, Friday, and then the following Monday, Tuesday. And during that period, they do the level 2 RQF in medication, and they do everything in the knowledge section of the care certificate except basic life support. And that is all fully funded through Skills for Care via that level 2 RQF in medication. And we also do the full range of management training, again, fully funded through Skills for Care. And that's the training that's put together and endorsed via Skills for Care. And other bits and pieces that you might be interested in, like a dementia awareness short course, which is fully funded, an autism one, which is fully funded, although I must say that that one is quite an in-depth course, so people need to be a bit committed for that one. And we do all of the normal diplomas, but not through the apprenticeship route, so people don't have to do the functional skills and the endpoint assessment and all that stuff. We can normally get a level 2 if they're keen through in about 6 to 8 months, level 3 in about 9 to 12 months. But please, I put all my details on there. If you're interested, just give us a shout. But we've been doing this for years. It works really well. We just very much hope that WDF continues after this year. I know there's lots and lots of changes, and I don't think we even know whether we're going to have a prime minister that will continue after today. So that's probably a worry for another time.
Thanks for that, John. I think it's really helpful. What we're trying to do at LCAS and going forward is not only are we trying to provide the funder from the WDF funding, we're also looking at someone who can actually do the training as well. So doesn't cost you much to walk from A to B. And hopefully that's very helpful for everyone as well.
Can I just quickly ask how many people on the meeting actually use Workforce Development Fund at the moment? I can see a hand.
So you can either put thumbs up in the reactions group if you want, which will be helpful, or in the chat box you can say yes or no. We're just trying to get an understanding of actually how many people use it, and this is just a good whether or not we may have to maybe run another WF sort of funding sort of session. I'm not sure if that would be helpful to everyone. If that's the case, then we can do that again, so that people can actually access the funding, because for those who aren't aware, the funding does run out, and if it's not used as well, there is an end point to it. So I think it's very important that you're aware. You've mentioned, John's mentioned the amount of things that you will be able to be applicable to you in actually just using that. So
one other thing, I mean, although the funding year opened, well, really late this year, it only opened about 3 weeks ago, each of the partnerships that we work with look like they've been allocated around £500,000, which is about double what they would normally have. And we've got a very, very short window in which to spend that money. So with the best will in the world, Laura, I think we all want to help to spend your money as quickly as we can to get people studying.
Right.
Yeah, so we may have to do a masterclass again. We had one from Scott today. We may have to do a masterclass on WF funding, and we'll try and see if I'll speak to Peter about getting out a date, and with John and Laura, hopefully maybe next month or before December, we give you a Christmas present for you to go and spend some money. I think that should be pretty happy.
Yeah, I think it would be worth putting Dave Vincent's contact details in the chat as well. But Phyllis, Dave Vincent will be able to talk you through the process of applying. And if you haven't got his phone number, I can't access his email address at the moment. Oh, that's it. Brilliant. Thanks, Laura. If you bob him an email, he will take you through the process. So they're very helpful. And between David, John, Laura, and ourselves, I'm sure we can get most people there. And it's government money, and let's face it, there ain't a lot of government money being thrown at you. So
it's not going to last.
Oh, how cynical we do become, John.
Thank you. Peter, I think you can go on to the next topic. I know we haven't got long. We also as well, before you actually start, Peter, any other areas or topics you want us to try and cover, we'll try to. As Peter said, we know there's a lot of change. There's the ICSs, there's funding, as we know, there's digital transformation. There's a whole raft of things happening. And we also tend to try and see if we can get CQC in as often as we can as well. So by all means, anything you would like to share it with us, send Peter an email on the WhatsApp group, and we'll try and see if we work ahead to try and get someone in place. Finally, for me, we're also trying to do live events. We've done one in Croydon. We're going to try and pick other live events in other parts of London. And we're trying to do it where it's topic driven, where we try and get as many suppliers or funders in the room alongside the providers.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's holding us back a bit with live events at the moment is actually getting venues that A, we can afford, and B, getting available dates. And it's really struggle. Yes, actually, talking of London Living Wage, I can help you. If you contact, there is a London Living Wage meeting this morning, which I can't attend, obviously, because I'm here, but I've got a huge pile of information. So if you want information about the London Living Wage, please contact me directly, bob me an email, and I'll either organise a small Zoom or I can do it individually. That's not a problem. Just one thing, we are expecting winter pressures. I've had an email through about winter pressures whilst we've been at the meeting. So I'll go through the detail of that and circulate the relevant parts. The expectation is that if the weather is severe, there will be real problems. There is an expectation that there will be a flu problem and that also there will be COVID problems. And I'm sure that you're urging your staff to get the jabs that they can have for free. That will help. But being prepared for those problems is a very difficult task. Any information that we get through from either the DH or via the NHS will be passed on. But sometimes we post stuff and clearly people aren't picking it up. So you do have to check. I know Dudley circulates stuff separately. Skills for Care put a huge amount of information out. CQC with their website, with their newsletters, do sign up for those. Also, we're seeing a lot of useful information come through Sky, that's SCIE. They do regular newsletters as well. They also have some training opportunities, some of which are free. But the key topic for today, and the key topic that keeps coming back time and time again, is recruitment and then retention. You've had a fantastic opportunity today, not just from PurpleTribe. There's lots of information on the Skills for Care website, but PurpleTribe have made some very, very useful points, and they may seem to have made them quite bluntly, but frankly, there's no other way to get through. So if there's any further points from anybody, let's please have them, or we'll let you get back to your daily grind.
Thank you everyone for joining again, and please don't be shy to get in contact. As Peter said, there's so much changing. So one thing I would ask for everyone is just to pay attention. If it's not through us or through the emails that we send out or the WhatsApp group, there's lots of things going on, and it's to keep up to date, because we know with CQC they are looking, and when it comes to inspections and things like that, on really looking at what we're doing as well. So please, please, please do. And also as well, it's a business that we do run, so trying to look at the business side is important as the care side. So keeping both in hand is important. Peter and I will try and help as much, but we'll then also be able to signpost you to probably other levels of expertise as well.
Yeah, thanks, Dudley. Dudley has mentioned CQC. This Friday, there is a launch of a further CQC report. I'm not sure what's in it. I'm going to the launch on Friday morning. So I would guess that we'll have either an embargoed copy on Thursday night, or we'll have something on Friday that we can circulate. So again, many thanks, Scott. Many thanks, Laura, John, for your contribution.
There was one last point as well. I think Skills for Care also launched the state of the social care report as well, which gives you an update of numbers, figures, stats in health and social care. So that's a report which is very helpful as well. So try and look out for that as well, which is very informative what's going on with the sector as well.
Oh, just one last point. I put on the website yesterday and circulated through WhatsApp a list from the NHS of information in various languages around dementia, which was something that a couple of people had asked us for. So it is there. If you can't find it, just bob me an email and I can send it on to you. Any last points, anyone? Fantastic. Thank you very much for attending. Have a good day.
Sorry, Peter, before we go, when's the next meeting so people are aware?
The next meeting is November the 16th. Next virtual meeting is November the 16th.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Many thanks. Bye, everybody. Cheers now.
Thank you.
Bye.